Next guest is Steve Bollar. He is an educational thought leader, former superintendent of schools, principal, author, and a school culture and motivation expert. In 2023, Steve earned a place on the Global Gurus World Top 30 Education Professionals. Steve is the author of the book Stand Tall Leadership, the school culture and climate book series Ideas, 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 and a contributing author to Because of a Teacher. He's the husband of one, father of three, and owner of 2 dogs and 10 fish. His alter ego is Stand Tall Steve. Stand Tall Steve openly shares his knowledge, experiences, and creativity with others. He currently speaks to schools, organizations, businesses, and communities across the globe to think about how to think differently about schools, education, and life. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my next guest, Stand Tall Steve.
Hey, how are you, Dana? It's good to be here. This is exciting.
Well, I'm excited to have you on. I've been following you for a while. We'll start off with the question I ask everybody. Tell me about a time when you were in the trenches and managed to crawl out.
Yeah, and thinking of that question, it took me back to a time where I was a building principal. And I'd been at this school. It was an upper elementary school. So it was just 5th and 6th grade. We just had 2 grades, 1,200 students, 2 grades. I was there for 8 years, and this was about year 4 of me being the principal there. My assistant principal, we had 2 assistant principals, one for 5th, one for 6th. My 5th grade assistant principal was leaving. She got another job somewhere. So that summer, in the past, she has always been in charge of going through all the data, realigning everything so we can identify which students are going to go to regular math, accelerated math, 1 year ahead, and advanced math, which is 2 years ahead. Well, being that she was on her way out, she kind of quickly put something together, and she's like, here, I got to go. And she was right. She had to go, and I did have to learn how to do this. And we had a new VP in there and everything. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. Now, mind you, I have dyslexia, dyscalculia. The numbers are not friendly with me. So we ended up doing this. I did it. I thought I had it all right. I've identified all these students. I'm thinking we did a phenomenal job. We had so many students that made it to accelerated and compact. That's what it was, compacted and accelerated math. So we wrote up the letters. We sent all the letters out to all of the parents and the students, letting them know I was wrong. I mean, the numbers were, it was not good. The math supervisor said, why didn't you pass them through me first? Our numbers were just exaggerated by it was just not wrong. I was caught up in my head. I was thinking we did this great thing, and we didn't. So the superintendent got back to me. I got written up, and I should. I deserve that. I was feeling pretty bad about it, and they were like, well, we can't go back and tell these parents now, oh, by the way, your kid's not as smart as we thought, or they didn't do, and all those things. So I thought about it. I was like, you know what? We're going to move forward. We're going to keep all these kids in these higher level classes. We're going to train up our teachers so that they can teach these higher level classes. And let's just do the best we can with it. And, as a leader of a school, that many kids, the things that you do, they affect their lives. So I was not feeling good. So anyway, we trained our teachers up. We put all those kids in, and the teachers came back and like, hey, are we going to lower things down? No, we're going to keep our expectations just as high. And all the kids stepped up. Every single one of them stepped up. We didn't have one kid fail compacted or accelerated math. Not one. And actually, because those teachers were teaching not only regular math and a higher level math, all of our regular kids did well, exceptionally well also. And during the entire time, I kept telling them, make sure you tell these kids how smart they are. Make sure you tell these kids how amazing they are. Be shocked by them. And it really made me and all of my staff realize that people can step up to the next level. It's about how you treat them, the mindset and the belief that they have in themselves. So that's coming out of some trenches right there. I swore that it was going to I just ruined it all, but it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because like making a mistake like that and then, not putting those kids back in the regular class because the parents have already gotten the letter, right? You can't really undo that.
No.
But really hiring the expectations, right? The teachers might not have had that belief to start off with, but really the kids really showed what they could do, and like it
Yeah.
turned out. So, you know, that's something I have not heard as a true story from somebody who's been a principal before, but it's definitely something that can happen, right? Like you
Yeah,
said,
it
with the
can.
numbers,
I
you
swore I was
know,
getting fired. I mean, thank goodness I had a little tenure there, but man, I messed it up. But it really sent a message to everybody that, you know what, it's that message, it's that mindset. You know, you could really do a lot with that.
yeah, yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about your books. So you wrote Stand Tall Leadership,
Mm.
and ideas, ideas, ideas. So talk to me first about the Stand Tall Leadership.
Sure thing. So stand tall leadership, and first of all, my name, Steve Bollar, I go by Stand Tall Steve, and the reason why I go by Stand Tall Steve, one, I'm a tall guy. I know you can't tell, but you know, by my voice just being in this box here on the video, but I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'7" tall. I'm a tall guy. So everything in my world revolves around standing tall, and you know, the whole analogy. I look like a ball player, but I'm not, and all that. But with the mindset of being a tall person, I've really found that there's connections to leadership and the world of tall people. Number one, tall people, we don't blend in. We stand out. You know, you can't miss us. We pop out instantly. And the same thing with leadership. It's not your job to blend in. If you're a leader, it's your job to stand out. It doesn't matter how
Mhm.
physically tall you are or not. And the second thing, tall people, we have a different view of the world. We kind of see things differently. We see kind of over the crowd. We see the vision. And like when you're in a crowd with a tall friend, you usually push your tall friend to the front, you hold their hand and say go, and they kind of move you through. Same thing with leaders. You have a vision. You can see where it is that you need to be, and you're taking everybody along. And the third thing about tall people leadership is tall people, we really don't fit in the world. You know, we don't fit in cars, airplanes, doorways, ceiling fans, shower heads. It just doesn't fit. But even though it doesn't fit, we don't give up. You
Yeah,
can't. You got to keep going. And the same thing with leadership. So
yeah,
when we talk about stand tall leadership, my book, I kind of take that philosophy, those three little things, and I connect it to leadership and education. So in there, it talks about ways to make your leadership more efficient and effective. Also, as a leader, what can you do to develop an environment where students and staff can really thrive and you're not outrageously overworked, empowering other people? So the way that it's designed and the way that it's set up, it's almost like a workbook, you know, so you don't have chapter. It's not very narrative. It gives you information about how to look at climate and culture, information to look at how you can better organize yourself as a leader, information to better understand people who just gave up and how to work with them, information about how you can inspire other people to move forward. So it's one of those things that you can kind of sit down with an administrative team and do a book study and do those things and really develop yourself as a leader and try one or two things. It's not all encompassing. Go in there, find something. Ooh, I'm going to focus on this and do that one thing and then start building your leadership up further from there.
yeah. It's definitely something that both the tall people can resonate with, but also people who are just getting into leadership and really using that
Right.
analogy of like what makes you different being exceptionally tall, but also having that vision, right? A short person can read the book as well because people have that vision, right? And
Yeah.
also, you know, really what makes you thrive as well. So you write your book, your second book, which is about school culture, as I mentioned in the bio. So, talk to me a little bit about that book and how that ties to leadership.
Yeah. So ideas. That book, it came out of, well, let's give a scenario here. Like you've been in education, you've gone to conferences, I've gone to conferences, you go to PD, and let's say you get some good ideas, right? You put them down in your notebook. You talk about it maybe with your team. You go back to your office, you put the notebook down, and then halfway through the year, you find your notebook and you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot. There's some good ideas in there, right? And so over the years, I've gone to many different conferences, a lot of specific conferences that deal with climate and culture, and you get cool, neat ideas. So I kept doing this, and then I realized one day I have all these ideas from all over the place, as well as many ideas that I've done myself in schools. Let me start collecting these. Let me start organizing these in some way. So ideas is a collection of ideas to help improve the climate and culture in schools. This is all the fun stuff, all the neat stuff, all the great things to identify and to help students, staff, and community. And that's what I did. I've organized it in there, and it's like a reference book. If you're looking for ideas for the beginning of the school year, open it up, read it through, pick an idea, use it. Go to the next section. So it's broken up into beginning of the school ideas, student recognition ideas, staff recognition ideas, the look of the school, and as well as community ideas. So this way you can kind of go in. Let's say you have a climate culture committee, or you're on a grade level team and you're trying to figure out some neat ways to recognize students or to bring community in. Open the book, find an idea like, hey, this is a good idea. And the thing is, you don't have to do it exactly the way it states in the book. It might generate, hey, let's twist it, change it, do it this way to fit us. And then you get more ideas. So there's over 101 different ideas in there. But truthfully, I believe there's like 10,000 ideas in there, because it gets you thinking. It gets that ideas generating to say, oh, there's another way we can do this. Oh, there's another way we can do this. Oh, here's another way. So that's the purpose of that. I've had many people who have gotten this book and they say, hey, it stays in on my shelf. I pull it all the time. Whenever we get together, we're trying to come up with an idea, a theme or something. And then it just gets us going with our generating new ideas of what we can do in schools.
Yeah, definitely something, like you said, to take out throughout the year, whether you're leading a PLC, whether you are a grade level team lead, a classroom teacher. Like you said, it's those things that often get tucked away in the filing cabinet after a conference, but having them assembled in one book to help you is a great, idea. Like you said, it's those ideas assembled. Yeah. So you have hosted the Stand Tall Leadership Show, and you said it was just rebranded to the School Culture and Climate Show with Megan Viati. And tell me a little bit about what this show entails, how often it's coming out, those types of things.
Yeah, so the podcast I had was the Stand Tall Leadership Show. And when I originally put that out, and we had 4 seasons of this, the goal was to really zone in on school leaders and help them out with kind of all the things that are in my book, Stand Tall Leadership. And we did. And at first we brought in a lot of guests, similar to me being on a guest with you, and we talked about things with the guests. And then by season 3, we morphed it, no, season 2, we morphed it halfway through where it was just me talking. So I would get on there and I would kind of go. And then season 4, we brought in Megan Deity. So Megan came in because I found that having banter, kind of like what we're having, back and forth, people like to hear the banter, going back and forth. And Meg is a classroom teacher. Like today, I was just texting her earlier. She's at opening day in her district. She's in Wyoming. And so having that perspective, most of my educational career was an administrator. Her whole career has been in the classroom. So then now when we talk about things, she can give that classroom perspective as opposed to the administrative perspective. And we really get along really well. So when I had my strategic planning meeting with my team that works with me for Stand Tall Enterprises, what came out of it was, for the podcast, all the metrics were saying the top episodes were the one that we talked about climate and culture. Like, it just screamed out that climate and culture is so important. So we made the decision to change the name of it from the Stand Tall Leadership Show to the School Climate and Culture Show. It just made sense, because that's what we talk about. And what Meg and I, ultimately, everything revolves back around to climate and culture. Now, we do talk about instruction and a few other things, but that's pretty much what it is. And we now have a blend of her and I bantering, as well as bringing in a few different guests on there. We had Kim Strobel on there. She talks about the science of happiness in teaching, because people are losing their happiness in teaching and things like that. So we're really excited about it. We just launched it August 2024. We did a soft launch. So you go to my website, you can get the first episode. We're going to do a formal rollout to all the different formats by August 15th. And we're going to have it twice a month. On the 1st and the 15th of each month, new episodes are going to go out. And the way that we do it is similar to you. We have the episode recorded. It's going to be on YouTube. You'll have the audio for the podcast. And then we take all the verbiage, and then we turn that into a blog. So now you have it in 3 different spots. For those who are auditory, visual, and the different learners, you can check it out in different ways.
Okay. And that leads me into my next question. So you have that blog with the video tidbits. You include things from the podcast, but you also include sometimes pieces from your keynotes, and also you do have a classroom management virtual course. So what are things
Mhm.
people can access on your site, such as these blogs, videos, and the course? Talk a little bit about
Yeah,
those.
yeah, of course. It's funny because I've had so many people say, Steve, you're everywhere. Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah.
like, well, no, just one spot. But again, that's what we do. We take the content that we record for the podcast and we video it so it's out on YouTube. Like if you go to Stand Tall Steve channel on YouTube, there are a ton of videos, over 100+ videos. Some of them are really short little clip bits, clips that you can pull up. Some of them are a little longer. The longest one is maybe 25, 30 minutes or so. Um, but the videos that are on YouTube, I designed them specifically. So let's say you're a school administrator, or let's say you're in a PLC and you want something to talk about, right? A topic. You can go on to Stand Tall Steve YouTube, get a video that's exactly 1.5 to 2 minutes long,
Okay.
play it, everybody sees it, turn and talk. Cost nothing, right? It's one
Yeah.
of those things that generate a discussion as well as get your mind going with things. So we have that there. We have access. You can get to that through the website, obviously, or just go right to YouTube. We have the blog, which is wonderful. I love the blog because it really shows my personality in writing. I'm not a very formal kind of a writer. I like to joke around and say things, but again, it allows you to have those opportunities to really think deeply about climate and culture and leadership. You can leave, information back as well there. Now, on my website, I also have, as you mentioned, virtual courses. And actually, we're going to really expand on this. We call it Stand Tall Academy, where we're going to, right now, it's a classroom management that works. That's the first thing that we're doing. It's a virtual course. You just go in, log it. You got a curriculum, you got video, you have everything that you need to really do that. And we're also going to start putting out, we have about 8 more virtual courses that we're going to be knocking out over the next several months. So now educators can go in, get certified, get the information that they need right from your home. If there's a school or district, you want bulk pricing, hey, contact me. We can open it up for a whole school or district that you can go in there and get that continual training that you need as well. So again, yes, I'm a speaker, trainer, consultant. I'm in business, but the same token, I want to make sure that the world of education, you have access to resources that allows you to think differently and do differently.
Yeah. So like you said, it's people can reach out to you, find out about pricing for the virtual courses for their
Yeah.
staff. You do a few things basically themed like beginning of the school year, or do you have something maybe for new teachers as well?
Yeah, sure. Like the beginning of the school year, this is it right now. One of the things, and I'll lean on my climate culture, classroom management things that we do. One of the top things that I've always found with teachers, in the beginning of the school year, you have your list of rules, right? In the beginning, on the front of the room. It's usually on a poster, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. And you go over those rules, and you should. You
Yeah.
should. That's 100%. But I'm also going to suggest for schools and teachers to come up with 3 words of what you respect and value in your classroom. 3 words that when anybody reads them or sees them, they know exactly what it means. For example, you come into a classroom and you say, yes, these are the rules, expectations. You go over there, you set them. But I value teamwork, integrity, and accountability. And then have a discussion with the kids about what teamwork, integrity, and accountability really means. Now, beyond the rules of the expectations of what you need to do, those are the 3 things that we hold to great value in this classroom. And then as a teacher, what your job to do every single day, not just the beginning of the school year, but every day, is to find kids who are upholding what you value in that classroom. And by you noticing them, and we're not giving anything, like we're not going to give her stickers and all that stuff. You can do that if you want, but just, hey, I see you doing teamwork. That's what we value in here. Way to go. Oh my goodness, you're right on there with accountability. That's what we value in here. Be a continual loop of saying those positive things, and you'll start seeing kids looking for opportunities to get that praise on those values. Because as a parent, I mean, people who are parents, one of the number one things that you want to hear from your kid, from anybody about your kid, is that they upheld the values that you have in your house outside of the home. Yes. And you want to see those values being upheld in the home. Well, the way that you do that is you constantly are showcasing what those values are. The same thing needs to happen in the classroom. Uphold those values, showcase those values, praise them for those values. And here's the last little bit of this. Do not weaponize the values. Don't weaponize the values. What do I mean by that? I mean, a lot of times we showcase the values, but then we weaponize them by saying, you know, we're all about teamwork. That's not teamwork. Look at yourself. Get over here. You got to stay in after school. You just weaponize the values. Now, if they don't do the values, yes, you have a discipline process, whatever, but you don't weaponize them. The goal is to find them doing the good as often as possible. Who wants to go in and find the bad every day?
Yeah.
Seriously, find the good. So that's my little tip for teacher, and that's just not new teachers, any teachers. That's a great time to do that. Great time to do this, beginning of the school year.
Yeah, this is definitely the time, definitely a good idea for people who are thinking of new ways to connect students and set those expectations. So definitely people can reach out to you on your website for some of these packages, as well as looking at some of the free offerings that you have for these videos. We've had a great conversation around your work as a consultant, your books and your podcast. Out of everything we've talked about today, what's one thing you'd like listeners to remember?
Well, the one thing I think everybody needs to remember and understand, it's actually a little something that I say when I do my results training to people and how with culture and climate. It's called reduce, not eliminate. Reduce, not eliminate. And I say this, and this should really help everybody throughout the school year. With reduce, not eliminate, in schools and in education, we're going to have issues, problems, and concerns. That's no doubt. It happens no matter what. And whenever we have issue, problems, and concerns in education, what do? We put together a committee. That's what we do, right? We love a good committee, right? We put a committee together. And when we get these committees or these groups together, we talk about what we can do to eliminate the issue, problems, and concerns, right? What can we do to eliminate the attendance issue? What can we do to eliminate the behavior issue? What can we do to eliminate the poor behavior of parents or whatever it might be? And I'm here to say, you're not. You're not. You probably are not going to eliminate these issue, problems, and concerns, right? We all know of that student, right? That student has been around for thousands of years, right? That student leaves, another that student's coming. I mean, some of the people listening were that student. So instead of going into these issue, problems, concern with the concept of eliminating, you need to go into these issues, problems, and concerns of what you can do to reduce. Yeah. What can you do to reduce the issue, problems, and concerns? So if you're working to reduce them, you're working in a realm of reality. Yeah. Because the more you reduce, it increases the probability of success. And here's the last little piece of reduce, not eliminate. It is take the time to recognize the reduction. Because let's say that you do things, you put things into place, and it is reduced, but then you don't recognize it. Mm-hmm. You know, let's say Stevie's been running out of the classroom 6 days a week. We put some things into place, it's reduced, he's running out of the room 3 times a week. But what do? He's still running out of the room. He's still disrupting the class. Recognize the reduction. Now, if you're not going to recognize the reduction and then utilize that reduction to increase your instruction and your time with students, well, that's on you. And that's in play with the classroom. It's in play with a school, a district, even a family. So if I want to leave anybody with anything, reduce, not eliminate. Now, down the line, if you can get to eliminate, bravo. But go into it with a little bit at a time. Reduce, 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 and then recognize the reduction. There you go.
No, that's a great way of thinking about things, is like, we have to be honest, right? We're not going to eliminate all those behaviors, all the students who are displaying the behaviors, but really eliminate and utilize it, right? So like you said, great thoughts there. As I mentioned, people can see your videos on your YouTube channel. Where else can they find you online?
Oh, they can find me just anywhere. If you type in Stand Tall Steve into any social media, you got me. Except Twitter X. Something happened. Something just hacked my system, so I got to re-up the X area. But LinkedIn's Stand Tall Steve, Facebook Stand Tall Steve, Instagram Stand Tall Steve, TikTok Stand Tall Steve. You know, YouTube Stand Tall Steve. So anywhere with Stand Tall Steve, you can find me. If you want to get a hold of me directly, I'm sure you'll have it in the show notes. But it's Steven, Steven at standtallsteve.com. And the last little bit of this is also, I have a program called Within Our Ranks. It's training for educators who want to speak professionally. So if you're an educator out there who wants to speak, train, consult professionally, just go to withinourranks.com or just go to Stand Tall Steve and find me. That's what I do. I help educators really get out there and put their message out there.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It was a pleasure getting to know you and hearing more about your work and how you can help educators.
Thank you so much. This was great. I enjoyed it.